it's like Alexander was made out to be this very big deal. Why? The only time she demonstrated any power is the short fight sequence she had with Elektra, which raises the question, it's like, if you could do that, what did she need Elektra for? Why were the other guys so afraid of her when she was the one basically sitting by the sidelines watching them do all the dirty work?
So in a sense, because Alexandra was dying, like she didn't want to use all of her energy. That's why she tried, getting Elektra to become her little Smeagol, like her little right hand man,
Right.
and but then that kind of went against her. And then what sucked was you built up this one villain to then out of nowhere
Kill her.
Elektra is Black Goo or whatever her name is. She's the husk of whatever. And
Right.
but she now has no reason to be the bad guy. She's just like, I'm killing fools, you all follow me. What are we doing? I wish...
Yeah. At that point, she needed the black substance to go on living, I guess.
Yeah.
She gambled it on Elektra.
To munch down on dragon marrow. And...
I just feel like what we needed was one scene where Alexandra put the other 4 members in check. Right?
Yeah.
That way we would have understood, okay, this is why she is who she is. And we never really got that.
Other than talking down.
Yeah.
I thought Bear Killer was gonna poison her with food. I don't remember these
Bear
names.
abuser.
That's sad. Okay, and sadly that's
Murakami, I believe was that character's name.
Bora Bora. What?
Eat this bear's flank steak.
Yeah.
Murakami.
His tube steak.
Oh. Are we keeping that?
I was waiting for him to do a
Keeping that?
versus when he pulled the bear heart out. I was waiting for him to take a bite of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't do
This is
it.
like hit her in the face.
This is
Oh man.
Get this out
wrong
here.
bear.
Oh, man,
This was
could you
Safeway,
imagine?
man.
Could you imagine Kitamura dealing
Dude!
with an Iron Fist?
Yes.
It would be
Hire him for something.
It would
Yeah.
be so ridiculous. Talk would have to be the bad guy, and have these awful but hilarious fight scenes.
Hey, but it would be good.
'Cause-
Hell, I feel like he could have done Defenders, actually. Because he has done serious films. I mean, look what he did with Midnight Meat Train.
Oh, Midnight Meat Train's a great underrated movie.
A porno.
It does. I think he can still do these things without the silliness. I feel like
Sequel?
That's the third one.
we're going into Japanese cinema nerd version. These two are like, we don't know what they're talking about.
That's the third one.
Okay. I mean, who else? Madame Gao. You know what I mean?
Mrs. Gao.
It was like, what? We basically had 4 seasons of her. What is her deal? Where does she get her power? What the fuck happened to the ninjas? Right? We get 2 whole seasons of all the hands got these ninjas who master their heartbeat and can assassinate anybody. And by the time we get to the Defenders, it's a bunch of underpaid private security guys with guns and AKs. What happened there?
She ate them and it increased her power.
Maybe.
I mean,
She made
everybody's
goo out of them.
because they killed off all the badass hand guys. So everyone's stuck with Mushi Mushi's Foot Clan soldiers.
We don't even know who you're talking about.
I do.
It could mean any number of these 3 characters.
Mushy Mushy from Iron Fist, but
That's why they brought that guy back.
who should have died.
Mukuro.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Mukuro
Mushy Mushy.
That's why they brought him back, and he was all about the Colleen.
And I hated him. It's like, why'd you bring him back?
Yeah, he was pretty weak. I feel like they could have
Because dudes were weak.
His dab.
They could have just brought in a completely new and unknown character, and we would have been like, okay, cool, someone new.
Yeah. They should have brought back the Drunk Master guy. That would have been cool.
He didn't die, did he?
No. As far as I know, the guy who was
The guy who's a better martial artist than everybody in the entire series so far.
Yeah,
Why they
the
didn't
guy,
bring him back?
the guy who was wanting to
wanna
be
show up
Danny
the
Rand
Iron
Iron
Fist,
Fist. And he was, even though I kind of didn't like his character in Iron Fist, he would have been a better foil for everybody than half of the. They were a lazy 88, not a crazy 88 like in Kill Bill, but those guys were the lazy 88.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Nobu should have died in season 1 of Daredevil, and then they should have brought in Murakami in season 2, and he was the one who killed Elektra. You know what I mean? Like that tension between those two characters and between Murdoch would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
A lot of missed opportunities.
we'll be getting to those.
What do we got next?
Isn't that where we're at
We
now?
pretty much covered everything. Like we wandered off into subjects that we hadn't even got to yet.
I still liked the show.
Yeah.
He's the one that was most convinced by the show. I was actually
Not convinced.
I was actually very upset.
It was adequate. I would have no problem rewatching it and not being like, ugh, I gotta rewatch
So you got
this.
done plowing a girl, and she was like, it was adequate.
For me,
Why do you think? Why do you
He's
think
just like,
Rand is?
fuck you, dude.
Why do you think Rand is lacking in the numbers, man? He's adequate.
Why are you bringing something like that up in this?
for me, it started good and
Some people are like, that's the best I can hope
That's-
for.
started good, hopped off, didn't finish.
I hope your comments on that.
Much happened
Comment.
for me.
Jerome.
I'm
Pulling out.
Look,
Basically.
yeah.
Where are you going?
I just remembered I got a thing downtown. Bye.
Jeez.
Right in the middle of it.
Anyway.
Okay. Anyway. As if this wasn't another element of what went wrong with the show. I guess it might not be. It's more just questions that we have about things that would ignore the man behind the couch.
I'm gonna peel that head again.
I'm just waiting for Scott to like come up out of there.
Oh, is that what fell over?
also have an opinion.
He's the plot hole guy. Should we talk to him?
It's
Oh,
like
God.
plot hole
We
Cthulhu guy.
should rig him up with some cables so we can make him like talk on his own, like a puppet from.
Yes, hipster Cthulhu.
Plot Thulu.
Hello, Skip.
Plot Thulu. Okay, we're gonna move on to talking about the fact that this show kind of raised more questions than it did answer them. I know what we said earlier about it answering a bunch of questions we were happy about, but actually, this show raises a lot of questions. The first question I have is Kunlun. What the hell actually happened? At the end of Iron Fist, Season 1, Danny and Colleen arrive in Kunlun to find the place destroyed and everybody murdered. Now, we assume at the beginning of this series of Defenders that the Hand is responsible for what happened. But as the show goes on, we find out that they weren't. And for some strange reason, the 5 members that compose the Hand ultimately just want to go back to Kunlun and can't, for reasons which aren't explained. So the question is, if Danny can sort of go back and forth between Kunlun at will, why couldn't the other members?
I think because they were banished.
So there's some just mythical power that blocks them from walking in
Sure, why not?
That's why you gotta get somebody to fist the wall, man.
to fist the wall, right?
Yeah.
Iron Key.
So can we hire Danny Rand to take down Trump and his wall?
You gotta get the Sigourney and the fucking.
Edit that out.
Keymaster.
I don't want to get political.
like, why did you
He's
say
just
that?
shaking his head. Sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, but I mean, like, I believe, like, because they're a they strayed from the teachings of Kunlun.
Well, yeah, we get that.
That, like, so they're in a sense banished. They are no longer able to get in there. But also, Kunlun is only able to be open for a window of time.
Right.
They just want to kind of like get back in, but that window is gone. So, I mean, unless like what we were talking about beforehand, unless it was Davos that killed everybody.
Right.
But then that still makes me annoyed that Davos was even brought up and then killed off, and then he's.
Right. So it's just like, so Madame Gao hired Davos to go back to Kunlun and kill everyone, or he did it of his own volition, and you know what I mean? Either way, it's kind of confusing because they make it seem like throughout the plot of the show that the Hand's plot is to destroy the city of New York, which ultimately we find out that's not what they're doing. They just want to get to the bottom of the city so they can get this black substance that keeps them alive. And then they want the black substance to be immortal so they can get back to Kunlun. Like, what is their goal here? Like, it's really sort of convoluted and confusing, which brings me on to the next point, which
What is your name?
Yeah.
What is your quest?
Right. This brings me on to the next
Everybody
point.
was Kung Fu fighting.
Barely. Which is, what is the black sky exactly?
Certainly not a beam of light.
Thank goodness. Like that one.
My
Yeah.
interpretation was super powered martial artist. That's it.
Right. So throughout the
Scorpion.
season of
Yeah.
Daredevil,
Get over here.
they make it seem like the black sky is this like world-ending thing that will kill everybody. Stick constantly talks about how, oh, this is the beginning. You don't know what's going to happen when they get their hands on it. But then when they get it, it's just like she's just a super-powered assassin, and not even that great considering that she couldn't take down a couple of members of the Defenders. So
Well, they did kind of mention that, because she still somewhere has feelings for Matt, so she couldn't fully be Super Saiyan or whatever. And like she couldn't fully do like be the evil whatever black
Right.
matter.
right.
Black sky.
So
Black
it's like
sky.
brings me to the next question is like, what causes the earthquake at the beginning of season 1? They made it seem like that was a thing that was going to get worse, but it really didn't. It just happened that one time. And it's like, so did the black sky create the earthquake? Did Alexander create the earthquake?
Septic tank backup
Or
under
was
that
it-
building.
Yeah, or was it really like the convoluted story they used to cover it up at the end of the series, which is, it was demolition that was unlicensed construction and blah blah blah, and that's what created it.
I think it was more and more the demolition underneath the building
They're trying to bring down the wall.
to get to
Hmm.
the wall that
Shadow
they needed
Gecko.
to. So like they didn't want to destroy all the dragon bones that were underneath New York City, and then because they needed that marrow as well to
So they had that whole
suckle on to
small
be
arc
immortal.
with the architect.
I don't know.
So
So
the
that
black sky was also mentioned to be a thing in Lecture. It was supposed she was just a vessel. That's the thing. Is they're saying this black sky thing wasn't Electra. It's just her body was the vessel for this thing. Unfortunately, her still being in there
right.
ruined things for the
Whatever it
black
was,
sky
yeah.
taking over her.
So they
vessel.
spent their whole time and resources getting the black sky, and once that was over, then they needed to spend all their time and the resources getting the key from Danny.
I don't know, man. These kind of plots, even though I accepted the show for what it was, Arrow still did this thing better with the Assassins unit or whatever, the Assassins Guild and the Lazarus Pits, and bringing back Black Canary and shit, and yeah.
Those names are much less threatening, though.
The shits.
The League of Assassins.
League of Assassins.
Pretty literal.
A League of Assassins and Canaries. Not
So-
too scared.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, you like the story, but there are some very large plot holes that you could fly a plane through.
And that's why I'm glad it was only 8 episodes instead of 13.
So they don't fuck up
Because-
that much.
Look, don't focus on this part up here that's fucked up. Look at this part.
Look, it's more of one episode of instead of an extra 4 or 5 episodes of like, even though this probably could have been okay at 10 to try to like explain everything a little bit better, because it does seem that even though it was paced decently, there were some parts that were rushed where like it could have been better with maybe an extra episode. I don't know what I'm talking about. I contradict myself every other time I speak. So yeah.
And since we're about to take a quick breaker,
Thank you for watching. Up until this point, we're going to take a break. And if you like what you hear and you want to support us, please go to patreon.com/studio4. We're back and on to the final phase of our review. So, because I don't want our reviews to be a bunch of naysaying and bickering and sort of negative feedback about the series, you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of people who do reviews and do journalisms, they only criticize because that's what's funny and that's what's entertaining. Sort of to give an opinion and be helpful, I'd like to suggest some things that probably could have been done with this series that would have made them much better. One of the first and most important things that I feel like they should have done is that these characters are all street level heroes, and I really felt like the end battle of the series should have culminated to a battle that took place in the streets of New York, something that the whole city could have seen. Again, kind of sad that the ninjas were kind of non-existent later on from the hand. And I feel like they could have had a scene in the streets where the four of them finally come together and battle off a bunch of ninjas outside the building to keep them from getting inside and stop them from planting the explosives that they want to do. I feel like that was important because it showed the city of New York that these are the defenders and they have these heroes watching over the city. Because some of these heroes like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage are already public figures that people know about. The Devil of Hell's Kitchen as well. Rand is the only new one. But this scene also facilitates the need for the Iron Fist to finally have a mask. Mm-hmm. What we wanted is a moment where Murdoch tells Danny, you can't run around being the Iron Fist, saving the city while being Danny Rand. You're going to put everyone you know around you in danger if you do so. So you should wear a mask. And connecting to that whole thing that we've seen before is early in Defenders, we see Murdoch wearing this bandana, which covers his head, which closely resembles the way that Iron Fist wears his mask later. So I feel like that's something that they really should have done and would have been cool to see. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been that last little bit of like, yay, we finally got the Iron Fist. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And yes, these guys are the Defenders and the whole city knows it. Anybody have any thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was kind of weird seeing him pull an Invisible Man, Kevin Bacon.
What?
Invisible Man, Kevin Bacon. He had a little face wrap on, just little glasses, and he was running around.
Hollow Man.
Hollow Man, yeah.
But yeah, they should have had it be like more into the streets, although kind of a less cheesier version of the end battle of Luke Cage.
Right.
Some of the things that I wish they would talk about as well is, and this is why I feel these have little to nothing to do with the MCU, even though that they want to try to say everything's connected. Look, the Sokovia Accords have happened, and Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Daredevil, they all would have been arrested in general from the Sokovia Accords,
or at least forced to sign.
Yeah, there would have been some implementation on that.
Danny as well.
Yeah, but they just no one came to try to shut them down on that. You did have the stupid cops trying to talk to them about things, but I feel more and more they keep just talking about the incident, and that's about it. There's nothing else referring to the greater MCU, unlike how kind of the ABC shows.
Yeah,
work.
Except for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has dealt very heavily with the Sokovia Accords.
Again, those are the ABC shows. Mm. So because the Netflix Marvel shows are the more nitty-gritty, realistic shows, it's just weird that it is their own thing where if you want to talk about a multiverse type thing, that's kind of I'm just saying it's layered like that. So it's you got the MCU is one universe, you kind of have the ABC Marvel shows as one universe, and then you have the Marvel Netflix shows as one universe. Still some things happen along the same lines, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the MCU have had characters Maria Hill, Nick Fury, and Sif have been in it, but
yeah, from the Netflix shows, it's been kind of absent.
Yeah, it's been super absent, and
I agree. I feel like it would have been cool to see S.H.I.E.L.D. at some point get involved with what's going on in New York, because there's a lot of super-powered people in one area, and this is typically something that they would be involved with. So it'd be kind of cool. We know at this point, S.H.I.E.L.D. still exists, right? They're back, according to ABC anyway.
Kind of, yeah.
And Coulson is off in the galaxy somewhere. So somebody has to be running S.H.I.E.L.D., and it would be cool to see a S.H.I.E.L.D. liaison to these guys who also could help them cover up some of the things that they do rather than just pretend that the police didn't press charges.
Yeah, and right now it just seems like Hogarth is kind of that person that out of nowhere probably has the Men in Black you saw nothing. She's the weird Jedi. Granted, but we'll see how things go. Especially now more with I wonder what the opportunities are going to be within these Netflix Marvel shows, especially with the whole deal that Marvel or that Netflix and Marvel Disney are now kind of like dancing around, because Disney wants to have their own streaming service app in 2019. Granted, there are contract negotiations going on with them at least holding, the rights so they can continue making the Netflix shows, but who knows how much longer that's going to be. And then it makes me wonder now what characters are going to be allowed within the Netflix show. Like, is Trish ever going to become Hellcat? That'll be an interesting thing.
Isn't that Claire?
No, Claire is Night Nurse. She's one of the Night Nurses.
What? No, I thought there
There's
was
Night Court.
Yeah, I thought she was some character that had claws or something.
No. That's Trish. Trish is Hellcat.
Okay.
So, like, because in the original Alias comic book series, it was Carol Danvers that was her best friend. So obviously they're not going to be able to use Captain Marvel in the Netflix show because Alison Brie is her, and that's going to be part of the more cosmic MCU. So they brought a more kind of like street level character, which was Trish, and she is in the comic book, she's Hellcat. So will they do that? Will they ever? I hope they get more into kind of like a Marvel Max line, or the Netflix series seem to be like the Marvel Knights, the Marvel Max series, which are the more adult oriented ones. So if Punisher gets to be popular, which I guarantee that show is going to be popular, there's no way Punisher is going to be completely awful.
I'm scared.
Yeah, me too.
But like I want to know who is going to mess with Moon Knight, if they're ever going to mess with him, because that is one of my other favorite heroes.
Yeah.
With how successful Ghost Rider was within Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I hope they do that as well.
Especially with that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was moved to 10 o'clock. Are they going to try to do a Ghost Rider ABC series? Kind of hope they don't. Or will that somehow become a Netflix show? But due to the money constraints of that, are they going to, or is Ghost Rider going to be like an 8-episode series, so they don't have to worry about the budget of the money and stuff? But I believe the Netflix shows are cheaper than the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series. But I mean, I guess we'll just see how things go, because nothing is talked about.
So
those are my
And then move on to another missed opportunity of the show, which is their misuse of all the satellite characters like Claire and Karen and Foggy and Hogarth. Each of these characters could have served a purpose or a function for the team, but instead, most of the time they were just sitting around in the police station doing nothing. Claire gives Colleen a speech in which she tries to tell Colleen that she is the foundation for the group, which didn't really make sense since she's really only friends with Danny. The truth is that Claire is really that foundation. So throughout the show, there should have been more of Claire sort of tying the teammates together and explaining why they're connected, who they are, and how she knows them. Sort of the way Ben Urich was, I believe, in the comic books. But they killed off Ben Urich in season 1 of Daredevil. Karen and Trish could have served the purpose to this team in terms of disseminating the story and what was happening to the public, creating a narrative for the Defenders characters. Foggy's character could have been serving a legal purpose, is giving advice to these characters on how to stay out of trouble, what they should and should not be doing legally, and keeping them safe in his own way, rather than having Foggy continually fighting with Matt, trying to convince him not to be the Daredevil, when we all know, that's going to continue.
I think they wrote him a little better in this than they did in season 2 of Daredevil.
He's over here going, no.
I mean, I get, and we talked about it. There was that one line that I guess I missed because it was like, oh, finally Foggy is on board. Gave him his change of clothes, and like it happened to be the
costume.
The costume, and it was like, oh, good. But like I didn't even notice that. Oh, I thought he was gonna burn it.
Yeah. Later on, he admits that he hoped that this was going to be the end of the whole Daredevil thing. But
Little did he know it was kind of right.
yeah, Misty Knight could have served as like a law enforcement liaison for them. She could have been helping to organize the police into a more constructive manner rather than simply just letting the cops turn on them and suspect them of all kinds of things. There were better things that they could have been doing, and instead, for some reason, they want to continue this narrative in the shows with the characters where they constantly tell people, "We don't need your help. We don't want you getting involved." That's getting kind of old.
Right. And yeah, the whole we don't trust cops.
Right.
Eh.
Hogarth could have been utilized a bit more too, because there was a point where she got involved with Jessica until Jessica dropped the story. She seemed to know something, and then that sort of just fell by the wayside and never came back again. So my point is that these characters really could have served some purpose that they could have been using in the story, and they didn't.
I wonder if that will be brought up at all in Iron Fist season 2, like that maybe Hogarth does weirdly have a connection with the Hand. Like there has to be something like that, or else she wouldn't have weirdly like Jedi'd in.
Well,
Then she was gone.
Yeah, we come to assume that she's kind of the legal representation for the richest people of New York. So in some way, she may see some of these people's underhanded dealings, and while through client privilege restrictions, she can't talk about what's happening or report it to the police, she has an idea of what's going on. And it's also kind of like, are they setting her law firm up to be like the law firm that represents superpowered people? You know, representing them against the Sokovia Accords, possibly. This is also something they could be doing.
It's for me, the sidelight characters, I was just glad I saw Lisa Foggy, and I forgot about Claire being there every once in a while.
You mean Colleen?
Colleen, my bad. Colleen, it's like she would disappear and like a few episodes later, and she'd come back. I'm like, oh right, she got left at that place for a while and didn't have any involvement.
Yeah, I feel like they could have done more with Colleen, because she actually could have been more like a member, as well as Misty, a member of the team of the Defenders, rather than just this like.
I don't know how much we needed Tantrum and Colicky. We didn't really need them in there that much. They were in there enough. Tantrum and Colicky.
Colicky's like a
Colleen?
disease.
Tantrum and
I forgot what it does.
No,
I
but
don't
who
know.
was that?
Colleen.
He's talking about
Oh.
Colleen Ring. We'll just have to Google Colicky later.
The only function I saw Colleen like do was to console Danny Tantrum every once in a while and just tie up her loose end with Mushi Mushi.
Mukuro. Right.
Mukuro.
Which brings me on to my next point. One of the things that they failed to do in this story, which they really should have, this is a missed opportunity, was drive home the rivalries between the villains and the heroes. Now that is the one purpose that Colleen Wing's character served, is that her rivalry was Mukuro. And eventually that gets resolved, which is a good thing.
Okay.
But the whole connection between Madame Gao and Danny got lost. More of the connection and the rivalry between Elektra and Matt, which did get driven home, but there also should have been a rivalry between Matt and Murakami, because Matt killed his second in command.
Mm-hmm.
So there should have been a lot of scenes with the two of them, sort of going at it, which they just sort of skipped over. Murakami felt pretty useless except for the points where he was bickering with Alexandra. The one character I can't remember, which I'll just refer to as White Hat. They should have driven the rivalry between him and Luke Cage a bit further, because White Hat was in Harlem. He was in Luke Cage's territory. He was corrupting the young men of his community. And rather than get a full-on rivalry and a fight scene between those two characters, even though they built him up to be so threatening, they skipped over it completely.
He's just the doorway to get into the whole conflict.
Did they explain why they were getting the kids to do the cleanup?
They were just they were using a cheap labor force to clean up the operations and the
But
things
did
that
they
they
say
were
why
doing.
they specifically went with kids in the neighborhood?
No.
Because they needed money to pay bills.
Yeah, they were just finding
You'll
people
do it
who
for
were
milk.
the people who were down on their luck. So
There was that small snippet of the flash that I saw was Cage fighting White Hat,
yes.
and he literally was doing pressure point fighting on him.
Yes.
I was like, oh, cool. They might have got someone who's a match
Yeah.
for Cage, but
He
no,
was showing off more kung fu than Danny did.
basically. But no, Then quickly, he got hit. Cage got hit by a
Right.
vehicle, and he showed up, and Homer was subdued.
Yeah. So this was something that was a really
Candy
important spectacle that we should have seen in the show and didn't see. So next time you're going to build up a show that runs for 4 seasons between getting to this point, maybe you should take those rivalries more seriously.
I have 2 things on that. One, they missed a big opportunity talking about who the manufacturer was that made that table that Luke went to Pound Town on. Because that table took a beating. I'm not kidding. They did a great job. That
That's gonna
scene.
be
It was
who makes
definitely
that furniture.
It definitely gave me the impression that he had been waiting to get out.
It was not IKEA.
It wasn't superpowered idea.
That was the real plot point of the whole series. That table.
He never threw a fist, so
He threw one punch.
he was no. While he was in jail, he didn't throw a fist.
Yeah.
So he was backed up. He needed that aggression.
Yeah.
I just realized what we were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
slow on
That's
that one.
what Scott was talking about with the table.
Yeah, the table. That table took a beating when he threw what's her face on it.
The groupie.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Old school handmade stuff, man.
Yeah, it's a American manufacturing right there, right?
You can pound your superhero groupies on it. It still stand up.
But
It's
and
so
then the
sad
second-
that they've made Claire into a superhero groupie. I really,
Yeah.
really hate that they've done that.
The second,
Don't worry about it. She's a grown woman. She
She'll
made her choices.
She can, yeah.
she'll
she
live
can-
on to bang more.
Look. Everyone's an adult. They can do whatever they want.
Bang as many superheroes they want.
It's only that way if you think that way.
So next,
Yeah,
hopefully will be.
but my criticism isn't to, downgrade the character. My point is that they could have made her above that. It could have been her character could have been.
Dude, she's
more
the key.
sensible.
She'll get with Thanos and talk about
Yeah,
the whole.
Nah, man. Nah, man.
The reason why I think it's silly is they build this relationship with her when we know ultimately that relationship isn't going to last. Like her relationship with Matt, we knew that wasn't going to last, and then it ended. And now her relationship with Cage, we also know isn't going to last because he eventually gets with Jessica Jones. Also, Danny Rand's relationship with Colleen is also going to go out the window because we eventually know that he's with Misty.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen.
Okay.
Maybe, as we all thought, Claire was going to pass away in this series, maybe that is the crux in Cage Season 2. But, back to what Scott was talking about.
Yeah, you have
What
one more
is your
point.
second?
the second point was exactly agreeing with what you guys were saying about the secondary characters. I think that they should have spent more of the first half of the season, if they were going to do a lot of catch up, also bringing in those characters to do a lot more until it was necessary that the 4 main people, the Defenders group, had to go do stuff. There should have been a lot more things with them handling first. So that way that they were important to the story instead of just getting stuck in a police station like a bunch of toilet ducks doing nothing. So it just seemed like they had better opportunities that they could have used, especially with how much that first half was going.
The final point, which actually brought up by you earlier, is that Jessica Jones could have been utilized better. It was cool to see her as the detective character, but it also would have been interesting to see her as the Wolverine-esque anti-hero character, because she's actually one of the stronger characters of the group, the more effective one. So it would have been nice to see her more in this role of I have to do everything, when all the male characters are sort of bickering in a dick measuring contest. That would have been a good use of her character, which they just didn't seem to drive home well enough.
I just didn't want to see them putting everybody in this weird position where if one of the people from the Avengers movie had shown up, any of those characters, I didn't want it to look like they drop in, they see these guys, how they're interacting, they just go, kindergarten class style land, and then they just leave. I don't understand what's wrong with these people. They're like a bunch of children, and then they leave.
Yeah.
It was unnecessary for all of them to have to act like children for most of this series.
Yeah.
It's because they're all A-type characters. I mean, Danny Rand's kind of a bottom, but I mean, they're all alphas.
Oh, that's why they call her Colleen. Got it.
And on that note,
It's just a bunch of alphas.
Fair enough.
It's a dick measuring contest, and they're just flexing. Look, No, I do it this way. Oh, no, I do it this way. I work by myself. So do I. Give me that mushu. Like, you know, because they're all eating the Chinese food and stuff.
It's just making me hungry.
A couple episodes in a restaurant. Here we go.
Yeah.
You want dim sum?
Not anymore. All right. On that note, we will say goodbye. Thank you for watching. We have been Studio 4, and this is R&D.
What are we doing next? Death Note?
Either Death Note or It.
It comes out September 8th, so we will have one for that.
Yep. And in between, we may have something else we work on. We'll see. We've got a lot of plans, a lot going on. So aside from just the music, we've got a lot of stuff in the works. And
Disrupt the
hopefully-
Paradigm as a show.
Yeah, Disrupt
the
Paradigm
9th.
as a show. We're gonna play during the It movie at the exact same time. I see your balloon, man. But
We all float here.
yeah.
Oh yes, they all float.
A little young for you, isn't she, Billy Boy?
You got a nice
Yeah,
taste, little boy.
updates soon on what we're all gonna do.
This is like where we have the links to the next video over our heads and we're still talking.
Yeah.
And thank you for anybody subscribing to the Patreon.
Yes.
It's gonna help. And we're
Thank
gonna
you
make
to
sure
my
that it
Aunt
works
Lucy
out.
for subscribing at $10 a month to keep the studio open. Thank you very much.
$10?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna give you a big old virtual sweet hug. That's
Tell your
right.
friends.
Again, Scott, Sammy.
Jerome.
Justin.
Woo! Subscribe. Buy our shirts.